You've just joined the Prepper Broadcasting Network, where we promote self-reliance and independence. The views and opinions expressed are strictly those of the host or their guests. Visit us in the interactive chat room at prepperbroadcasting.com.
Bankland, Federation of Bankland, the Republic of Bankland, United States of Bankland, United Kingdom of Bankland. Parasite, a smart parasite, a real smart parasite, keeps its host alive. Times are bad and times are hard, and minus cash my way is barred. I'm treated like some retard strapped to a suicide credit card. Mr. Banker, can't you see?
Welcome everyone to Galt Strike. This is Tom, your host. This is our weekly libertarian talk show where we discuss not just the problems of today, but also possible solutions to those problems. If you're listening to the show over on Blog Talk or any other website that carries a player, you can also listen and join us in the chat room at prepperbroadcasting.com. Scroll down about halfway, there's a chat room. You can put your username there to log into the chat room. I'd also like to mention, if you have questions or comments during tonight's broadcast, the call-in number to get on the air is 1-347-202-0228. And if you're listening online or if you're listening on the phone and you want to talk, make sure that after you've connected that you also press 1 so that our producer knows that you want to be on the air. Tonight we're going to do our podcast a little bit different than before. It's going to be more like a roundtable discussion. I have a few callers, guests that have called in, and we're going to discuss tonight's topic together, exchange ideas. I believe we've got 2, possibly 3 people that are coming on with me today. I've got Lisa, I've got Pappy, and I got Dave. When Dave comes on, Dave, if you're listening, you might also want to press 1 to talk. So first, I'm going to go to each one person and let them themselves. I'm going to start with Lisa. Lisa, also, you might also know her as the survival mom. Are you there, Lisa?
I am. How are you, Tom?
Good. So feel free to introduce yourself real quick and mention your website and what you're about and what you do.
Yeah, you know what? It seems like I'm an old-timer, along with you, Tom, and all the prepping, in the prepping world. Like you, I got into prepping about maybe 8 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long, but about 8 years. And I think both you and I back then saw the writing on the wall with the economy and the direction that things were going. And I just decided as a mom to jump in and do things that I knew would help my family be prepared no matter what happened. And back then I started teaching classes locally. That's when I lived into the Phoenix area. And one thing led to another. I started a blog, thesurvivalmom.com. And before I knew it, you know, the traffic grew, and I had written a book. I had my own podcast for a couple of years there, and I'm still around. I don't think prepping has really died down, to say the least. So there are still people out there, and I think more joining every day, people who are concerned and want to know specific things that they need to do to get their homes and their families ready.
Yeah, I agree. I think what's going on is a lot of the reasons to be prepared seem to be changing. Changes with the political climate, especially today. You know, watching what's going on with the violence and stuff at the Trump rallies, and some of the riotings with the movements that are going on. That's a little bit concerning to me, and also I'm still quite a bit concerned about the economy and what's going to happen with that. I think more bubbles on the horizon, especially with student debt. Anyway, I'm going to go on. I'm going to go on and introduce Pappy. Pappy was on with us last week. Pappy, are you on the air?
Hey, Tom. Yes, I am. How are you doing this evening?
Good. Thank you for coming on. You want to introduce yourself briefly for the new people that are listening?
Sure. Thanks for having me back again. I don't have any websites or anything like that yet. I'm just a listener to the show, a grandfather. Really, that's the reason I've always been prepping, or have been prepping for quite a few years, but now with grandkids and soon to be great-grandchild coming along, I just realized how important it is for me to be better educated so I can even pass on to the next generation to get them prepared before they even enter the workforce. And again, like you say, watching the news, it really scared me for my child, who is now in his 30s. I was always worried about now grandchildren as young as 5 or 6, and then a new great-grandchild coming along the way. We got to find, and that's what I like about the show, not just what's the issues, but some of the solutions. So that's why I'm really, really pleased and honored that you asked me to be along with you and try and work through some of these issues.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we definitely want to prepare for the future of our kids and grandkids. I do see a lot of really big problems, especially in the political world. A lot of people say, well, what's prepping or what's politics have to do with prepping? I think it has a lot to do with prepping. But unlike a lot of the other political talk shows, I want to focus a lot less time on the problems. I mean, we want to know what the problems are, but then I think we need to spend a lot more time talking about the solutions. And I don't think a lot of the other talk shows spend very much time talking about the solutions and trying to unite people. We're trying to, I've got a libertarian talk show. This is a libertarian talk show. But I'm not trying to divide people. I'm trying to unite people together from the right and the left. I don't consider myself to be moderate on a lot of things. A lot of things I'm socially liberal on. Other things I'm fiscally conservative on. Depends on the issue. I mean, I don't fit on one side or the other on most of the issues. But I do think there's a lot of common ground that we can come to. Anyway, we're supposed to have another person on. His name's Dave. I don't know if he's one of the other callers that have called in, but Dave, if you're listening, you might want to push the number 1 on your keypad so that we know that's you, so we can bring you on. Also, before we get going, I want to do another quick reminder for people. Anyone can call in. It doesn't matter if you're liberal, conservative, libertarian, Democrat, Republican. You can call in. Let's work through some of these solutions together. The call-in number is 1-347-202-0228. And then once you've connected, remember to dial 1 to get on. So anyway, there's a few ground rules for the show because, it's a live show, and we have some rules with Blog Talk as well. Is first and foremost is no foul language. Can't have any bad words at all on the show. No hate speech. Feel free to give a short plug about your website, book, or business if you call in. Just make it quick. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. Feel free to call in with your opinions. And lastly, the ideas and opinions on the show is not to be taken as professional advice. These are just opinions. We're just coming up with ideas here. So anyway, I'm going to start out the show, what we're going to be talking about, and then I'll give each of the my callers a chance to give their opinion one at a time. The topic of tonight's show, we're going to talk about individualism, personal autonomy, personal accountability, personal responsibility, respecting each other's boundaries. Mostly what's central to libertarians is the non-aggression principle. I think the non-aggression principle, if everyone adhered to that, I think it would solve a lot of our problems. Unlike other libertarians, I realize that the non-aggression principle isn't always possible to follow every single time. Sometimes people's rights and liberties actually intersect. And that's one of the things that, we want to try to walk through and discuss, two people's rights are conflicting with each other. How can we resolve that? So we're going to be talking a lot about respecting boundaries. I want everyone to think for a minute. Time you hear somebody say, or whenever you hear somebody say, there should be a law against blank, whatever, fill in the blank. Consider the fact that a lot of the things that you used to enjoy that are no longer legal, they were probably made illegal because somebody else said there should be a law against. And I think that's one of the big problems in society with our loss of freedoms is so many people are focused on banning or prohibiting somebody else from doing something, even at the expense of losing their own liberties. And I think that needs to change. I think we need to start respecting other people's liberties and then asking those people to respect our liberties in exchange, for helping them have their rights and freedoms. We also need to respect each other's borders and our boundaries. So anyways, we walk down the libertarian path. I want you to think about these following words. These are words that are important to libertarians. And then I'm going to list some words that libertarians reject. So some things that's important to libertarians is obviously non-aggression principle, individualism, mutual voluntary trade, self-reliance, self-determination, rational self-interest, objectivism, personal autonomy, self-government, and a word that I like to use to describe our personal boundary is like a freedom bubble. Things that libertarians reject is statism, socialism, collectivism, totalitarianism, force, aggression, involuntary servitude, involuntary taxation. A little bit about what some of these words mean. First is non-aggression principle. This is from the Advocates for Self-Government. And what they say in regards to non-aggression principle is libertarians oppose the initiation of force to achieve social or political goals. They reject first strike force, fraud, or theft against others. They only use force in self-defense. Those who violate this non-aggression principle are expected to make their victims whole as much as possible. This is a good neighbor policy, and it's what most of us were taught as children. We were told not to lie, cheat, steal, not to strike our playmates unless they hit us first. If we broke a friend's toy, we were expected to replace it. Most of us still practice what we learned as children with other individuals, but we've grown accustomed to letting government aggress against others whenever we think we'll benefit from that. Consequently, our world is full of poverty, strife, instead of the harmony and abundance that freedom, for example, freedom from aggression can bring. Simply put, libertarians take the non-aggression principle that most people implicitly follow in their interactions with other individuals and apply it to groups' actions, including government actions as well. So that, in a nutshell, is what the non-aggression principle is. Individualism, from Wikipedia. Individualism is a moral stance, political philosophy, ideology, or social outlook that emphasizes the moral worth of the individual. Individuals promote the exercise of one's goals and desires and so value independence and self-reliance and advocate that interests of the individual should achieve precedence over the state or the social group while opposing external interference upon one's own interests by society or institutions such as government. Individual is often defined in contrast to totalitarianism, activism. If you think about it, where does the government gets its power from? The government gets its power not from government, but from all the individuals of that society. So the individual actually is, an integral part of society. I like to think of freedom for each individual in terms of like a bubble, almost like a a border that we each have around ourselves, kind of like our personal space. So if you think about this for a minute, if you're standing in line somewhere and someone walks right up to you like a couple inches away, so they're right in your face, how does that make you feel? It makes you very nervous. Like you almost always back. What happens when somebody aggresses towards you? That puts you in a defensive mode. I think people really need to respect those borders that we have. And I think those borders also extend around the property that we own. They extend around our car, our business, our home, our personal things that we own, our bank account. Everything that is a product of us and the things we create is encompassed in that border. For example, someone breaking in your home, they're violating your border. They're violating your personal space. They're aggressing against you. I think we've got a caller on the air. Mr. Producer, is that Dave or is it, do we got Quansay on real quick? Quansay?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, very good. I was invited to this show by a friend, and, she's a prepper, and I've been helping her out with her preparations for what we all know is going to happen. And I didn't anticipate this topic, but I think that this topic is beyond excellent because the way you're breaking things down fundamentally, the libertarian state or voluntarism is extremely important because a lot of people don't understand these fundamentals and are not relating them to their everyday lives. And I think what your show is doing right now is a beautiful thing.
So you go by the name Quansay?
Quansay, that's correct.
Quansay, okay. Yeah, great to have you on the show. Yeah, go ahead and stick on with us. That's going to be a total of 4 of us for this round table, and we'll circle around to each person and get everybody's opinions.
Yeah, I
want to go over. What's that?
I was going to say I'd love to be part of that. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
I'll continue to listen and maybe come back in later.
Okay, let's get started on a topic here. This is a principle that I've been working. Is that somebody in the background? Sound like a kid or something I hear.
Yeah, it's my grandson. But,
okay, all right. I just
fixed that.
Okay.
I just fixed that.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, so I've been working on a principle in my own mind here, a philosophy, not necessarily something that I consider for, moral arguments or moral beliefs, but something I think that we should all hold as principles when dealing with other humans in society. And it goes like this. I believe philosophically in society that every human individual, no matter what their stage in life is, no matter what their age is, and no matter what their social economic status is, we should all be entitled to the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but not at the expense of the rights of others unless another individual has caused their life to be dependent on their actions in some way. So I want to give a few examples because you can apply this to anything, whether it's self-defense, whether it's an accident, whether it's social welfare, to children, to even abortion. I think this principle could be applied to all of these situations. And so I'm going to go over each of these situations and then ask each of your opinions on this situation. What do you think? How do you think this principle should be applied to this situation? So the first situation is, let's say, for example, a person who's drowning. Okay, the person just fell in the water. They're drowning. Maybe you don't even know how to swim yourself. There's no life preserver. While that person may have a right to life in their pursuit of happiness, they have that right, but not at your expense. That person has no right for you, no legal right to force you to sacrifice yourself to save him. What if the water's too dangerous for you to risk your life? What if it's, choppy water? What if the guy's bleeding and there's sharks circling around and you've got no way to get a life preserver? should you be required by law to go in and save that guy? I don't believe that should be a law for you to be required to save that guy. Unless, however, your actions have caused that situation. So let's say you and the other person were in a boat together, and you're being real stupid with the boat and careless and reckless, and you hit a rock or whatever, and your negligence caused the boat to capsize, okay? And you're able to swim, but the other guy's not. At that point, I believe you are fully responsible for the life of the other person. And, in society, you're certainly civilly liable for the other person, if not criminally in many cases. So, as I said, for this example, every human individual, no matter who they are, is entitled to the right life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, but not at the expense of others unless your action caused them to be dependent on you in some way. So I'm going to go around the table here and ask each person. Lisa, what do you think about the drowning person example?
I don't think many people would disagree with that. A lot of what you've talked about, I don't know that I agree with everything that you've said tonight, but a lot of what you've talked about is common sense. And it stems from, I think, what used to be taught to kids and, maybe perhaps even in school years ago, personal responsibility. And when that goes by the wayside, that's when we want to start controlling other people's behavior with more and more regulations, more and more laws. And eventually it's like a noose that just tightens around your own neck. So in the drowning instance, those parameters make perfect sense. I mean, if I've caused a problem, then I have to be part of the solution. I hope that's what I've been teaching my kids.
Okay. All right, great ideas. Pappy, what are your thoughts on the drowning person situation?
Well, on the drowning and when not knowing how to swim or whatever, no life preservers, I feel that it's just really an obligation to make sure we exhaust all options to try and save that person, but not at your own peril for sure. That's a little more sacrifice for someone else's misstep or whatever. Now, if you cause the person to go overboard, I believe you really have to go above and beyond and do everything to not be held accountable in the end run if things turn out for the worse, for sure. Got to have responsibility on that end.
Okay, good thought. We do have Dave on the air now. Dave, welcome to the show. Are you there, Dave?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Did you catch most of what we just discussed there with the drowning person example?
No, absolutely. And I have to totally agree that if you have caused an accident on somebody, then it is at your own peril you have to save them. But if somebody trips or falls, 2 dead people because of one person's mistake that is not yours, there's no reason for you to risk your own life. That serves no purpose whatsoever.
So now another example, let's say the water's, calm, okay? Maybe there's not a life preserver. Maybe the risk to your life is minimal to go out and grab the guy and drag him back. While a lot of people would argue that you have a moral duty to at least try to help the guy. What about a legal obligation? Should it be required by law that you help that guy even though you had absolutely nothing to do with it?
Not even close. I mean, that's just force. That says that unless you were absolutely the only person there, you didn't shove him in the water. We're talking about law. That's force. You have to be cautious about that. When you create a law, you have basically drawn a line in the sand saying that you have to do something.
And I think what that would do, a law like that would do, is open it up to criminal cases for every single person that drives right past an accident that doesn't stop for that accident. That's what that would open that up to. So I agree on that standpoint.
And you thought traffic was bad before that.
Yeah. I'm going to bring Quansay on real quick to get his opinion.
I'm here.
Yeah, Quansay.
I think that your example is absolutely perfect in bringing about the points of the limitations of entitlements as well as self-responsibility. And like the other contributor just said, that when we talk about moral right versus lawful rights, it's not the same thing. We're talking about the use of force again, and they don't equate to righteousness. And society's been conditioned to thinking that is righteousness is the same thing as lawfulness, and it's not the same thing. And we have to do exactly what you said. Is we have to remember that we are not obligated to go beyond our own personal limitations or liabilities in order to try to do the right thing, unless we have been the perpetrator that has caused the event, and now we do have that moral responsibility to go ahead and try to right things as best as we can, even if it means putting ourselves in peril.
Very good thoughts and opinions, everyone. We're about to the bottom of the hour, so before I go into the next few examples, I'm going to let our producer bring on our few words from our sponsors.
TheWonderMill.com, the best grain mills on the market, with the ability to mill several items that many grain mills will not. There are 2 grain mills to choose from. The Wonder Mill Electric. It's fast and gives you a vast variety of items it can grind. The Wonder Junior Hand Grain Mill can grind a wide variety of things that even some of the most expensive hand grain mills cannot, including oily grains, nuts, and seeds. Learn more about the most resourceful tool that you may ever own. See all the exciting things that Wonder Mill can do for you and what you eat at thewondermill.com.
Need a survival knife for when things hit the fan? How about a rescue knife to have in case of emergencies? At Knife Depot, we carry more than 10,000 knives from popular brands like Kershaw, Buck, Schrade, and more. Every knife we sell is backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you're always 100% satisfied with your purchase. Visit us online at knife-depot.com. For a 10% discount, enter Prepper10 at checkout. Again, that's knife-depot.com. And remember, never lose your edge.
We have exciting news. You can now afford to have your own freeze dryer. That's right, for the first time ever, it's possible to have a freeze dryer in your home. It was invented right here in America by Harvest Right. With this new appliance, you can freeze dry your own food and it will last 25 years. Imagine freeze drying fruit, vegetables, meat, and your own homemade meals. It's as easy to use as a microwave. Learn more about this amazing home freeze dryer at harvestright.com. Again, that's harvestright.com.
All right, looks like we're back on the air, everyone. I want to remind you that the number to call in if you'd like to voice your opinion is 1-347-202-0228. And then when you're on, be sure to dial 1 to let the producer know that you want to be on the air. So we're talking about a little philosophy that I like to hold, that I think if everybody had this same principle, I think we'd be able to solve a lot of our problems. And what that belief is that every human individual, no matter who they are, no matter what their age or their status is, should be entitled to the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but not at the expense of the rights of others, unless another individual has caused their life to be dependent on their actions in some way. So I'm going to move on to the next example. Along the same lines, like we discussed before the break with the drowning person, like a car accident. We see that all the time. And so I think it's pretty much the same idea. If you drive past a car accident and somebody's dying on the side of the road, maybe you might feel that you're morally obligated to help that person, but you're not legally obligated to help that person, nor do I think should government force you. I don't think government should force you to have to help that person unless you're responsible for that accident. Unless you caused that accident, then you're darn right. You have a legal obligation, whether you like to or not, whether you hate that person, whether that person was the worst person in the world. You have a legal obligation, and you should have a legal obligation to help that person. You know, and that doesn't matter if they survive and they're on life support and needing support the rest of their life. You're obligated to that, and that's why, you know, we have car insurance. So I think that's kind of along the same idea as a drowning person. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Let's talk about self-defense, for example. Okay, if you've got somebody wandering around in the street and that person has a baseball bat, and that person runs after you with that baseball bat like they're going to smack you upside the head, okay, well, before they did that, they had a right to life, okay, in their pursuit of happiness. But now they're charging at you. That's an expense on your life and your own safety. I believe that person just giving up their right to life because you got a right to life as well, and you should have every right to defend yourself from that person. But what if you caused that to happen? What if you had a knife and you were fighting with that person and you were chasing them around and now they're swinging at you and you turn around and pull a gun on them? Do you have a right to kill that person? You know, you may say, hey, my life or theirs. But still, you should have a legal and moral responsibility to that person's life, even if you killed them, because you caused that incident to happen. So I'm going to go around the talk. Lisa, what do you think in regards to self-defense?
Well, you know that I'm a big proponent of the right to protect ourselves, protect our homes, protect our loved ones, the Second Amendment. A part of me, Tom, wants to kind of circle back to the whole concept of, you know, just self-responsibility and then also self-control. So if I have teased someone, if I have really just driven them crazy and they pull out a knife or a gun, they have now made the decision to attack me and endanger my life. So someone could say, well, Lisa, you were to blame because you teased them. Well, you know what? That one person made the choice to pull a weapon on me or to attempt to kill me or perhaps one of my kids. But another person in that scenario may have made a completely different decision. They may have decided to walk away and say, oh, that lady's crazy. They may have decided to step away and call the police. So, again, they've crossed the line if they have decided to resort to violence. No matter what the trigger, if it's a verbal trigger, it's because I've made a face or I've rolled my eyes. That really doesn't justify, an attack on their part.
Okay, good opinion. Pappy, what do you think in regards to self-defense?
Self-defense is one of those things that, can just really get turned around so quickly. But absolutely, we all have the right to just like you said, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if someone is threatening to try and take that away, we've got to have the right to be able to defend ourselves. Do we try and get away first? You know, what is the moral high grounds? I mean, you can't just aggressively attack initially. Try and diffuse a situation, I guess. I don't see myself ever being in the second situation where I would be the aggressor of that situation. But again, once you start down that road and you become the aggressor, you're really putting yourself in some dangerous grounds. And unfortunately, I think there probably are quite a few laws that could get you caught up in that already. But for the government to say that you can't defend yourself in kind of the way where it's going right now is really scary to our future, especially with everything going on in the news right now. So we've got to start making sure we support the right people and stay in touch and make sure our rights to defend ourselves when it is appropriate that they stay intact. Again, you have to be able to. I think you have to protect first of all your personal life, liberty, and your families before you can protect anyone else's.
Okay, good points. Let's real quick to Quansay. What do you think about personal self-defense?
Well, in this particular scenario, I think that what the question that you're really raising is the question of proactive defense versus reactive defense. And this is where it gets really tricky. The United States uses the proactive defense mindset. We are attacking people before they can attack us, but we all see how that's playing out. It's imperialism. It's a use of force. It is not the principles of voluntarism and the rights to life. So we have to really question, and this is where it gets really tricky, am I defending myself because it is crystal clear in my mind that, we could say like I'm clearly outnumbered and they are coming towards me. And it's quite clear that they are up to no good. Now we're taking a proactive stance at defending ourselves and we are attacking them versus, the one-on-one scenario where, it's like you have to figure it out in your mind. Am I being threatened right now? And then I have to react to the threat. So that's where it gets really tricky. This whole scenario has been brought up in the last couple shows of The Walking Dead, where, they're talking defense, but they're actually being proactive and they're going out and violating the rights of voluntarism in the name of defending ourselves. And that's the big topic that we all have to address, because we are going to be faced with that situation from a tactical perspective in defending our communities.
I think that's actually a good topic for a whole other show we should bring up, is about self-defense and whether we be proactive or reactive or however we defend ourselves. I think that's a good idea. I want to go on to Dave real quick. Dave, your opinions on self-defense.
Well, first thing you got to say is that words are not violence. No matter what words you use, that is not a violent act. I mean, I think Lisa kind of mentioned that. So no matter what is said, you can walk away. As far as self-defense is concerned, the moment somebody brandishes a deadly weapon and walks towards you or even moves towards you in an aggressive manner, you have the right to defend yourself to the level that you believe you're threatened. Now, I believe if somebody pushes you, you shouldn't shoot them. That's excessive. But the moment somebody, like you said, a baseball bat, deadly. A knife, deadly. Somebody picks up a 2x4 off the ground, deadly. But, again, if you're going to defend yourself against a hand-to-hand combat, you pull out a gun, you're a murderer.
Yep.
I don't think that's a gray area at all.
Yep.
Words are not violent.
Words are not violent. I want to go on to the next topic here. Social welfare. Welfare, food stamps, any other form of social programs funded by the government. Let's apply the same principle, see how it play out. So every human individual, no matter who they are, no matter what their economic status is, should be entitled the right to the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, but not at the expense of others, not at the expense of the rights of others, unless another individual has caused their life to depend on their action some way. So, for example, somebody's, poor, they need to eat, they have a right to life and the pursuit of happiness, but do they have that right at the expense of other people? Do they have that right at the expense of our taxes and the force that government has to use to take that taxes away from people that don't want to pay? But what if, like the example of a car accident, okay, you were responsible for injuring the person. Now they're in a wheelchair the rest of their life. In that situation, I do believe you're responsible for their life and making sure they're taking care of the rest of their life. They're at least, certainly financially, because they can sue you, and that's what we got auto insurance for. But what about, just poor people on welfare needing food, and they go to the government comes to you and takes money from you to pay for that. What do you think about welfare, Lisa?
Oh.
Yeah, you there? What do you think about social welfare, how this principle would apply to that?
We have come so far from what charity used to be all about. It used to be voluntary. It used to be giving a hand up to someone or to a family or community that was in a crisis for a certain period of time. During the Great Depression, towns would give loans to some of the townspeople who were in dire need, but they expected repayment, and some of those towns would even publish the names of the people who had taken out the loans from the city funds. So we have come such a long way from that, where there is no sense of responsibility, where it is just like a generational attitude of I'll be taken care of no matter what. So I don't think, Tom, that we will ever get back to the days of really true responsibility for oneself and one's family. And hey, if I need a hand up, can I count on you to give that to me? Because our current social welfare is more just the entitlement mentality, which, by the way, is across the board in many different levels and different types of that entitlement mentality. I'd love it if we get back to the days of the Great Depression and when people really felt like they wanted to help their neighbor. But when you take something by force from me and you give it to someone who has chosen not to take responsibility for their own actions, then obviously, that government has crossed the line, way back, and there probably is no will as a nation to ever turn that tide.
So I like the idea the way it used to be, that people would take out loans. That kind of falls into the part of, you have a responsibility to make things whole. You make your victim whole if you've taken something from them. If the government provides them something, they have to pay it back. I think that's the way it should be. I agree, but maybe others disagree. What do you think, Pappy?
Well, I agree. We're never going to get to an age where we don't have some type of social welfare. I know I'm seeing it here in my area big time with the oil field turned down. One thing I've seen when I've traveled around, and I believe it was in Belize, and I think we should do it here, is if you do have to go on some type of social welfare, make it like a loan, but in Belize, you go to work for the parish or the city or wherever you're getting from it 4 days a week. You go do, whether it's painting, washing dishes, cooking at the schools, you're working to repay that loan in assistance to the community, not just to self not doing anything. And then again, you have to be looking for work on that fifth day. You have to do those things to do it. So if we are going to have social welfare, and there are some people, let's agree, the elderly that can no longer work and are sick or whatever, I have no problem helping those kind of people. Someone that's in dire straits, if we need to help them for a short term. But let's make sure they're not just taking advantage of the entitlement situation. That we got to get away from that word, got to get away from that completely. And we have, if we can just get people paying us back right away, coming in, cutting the grass at the courthouse, going to the public schools, just doing something to make them know it's not just okay, it's not just a free ride. I think that could be a good step moving forward back to sort of where we were.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Quansay and get your opinion real quick, Quansay. Quansay, you there?
Yes, I'm here. I forgot I muted. Okay.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
Now, from my perspective is, I'm from Southern California, and I've done some traveling myself, not abroad, but many places here in the United States. And what I've seen is that there is no going back. There is no back to the good old days. We have been completely socially engineered into this delightful situation that cannot fix itself. It's a matter of mathematics. There is so much debt that it can never be repaid. So there is no going back. But to the last panelist that just spoke about compensation, it's a fine line between feudalism and the abuse of society or the abuse of powers, where they start creating situations like I know they do in Southern California, where they create situations where you will become indebted, whether it be through traffic tickets or just any things where they're abusing these so-called laws. and now you're indebted to the system, and then they put you to work for X amount of hours to repay that debt. And that's exactly what they're starting to do with welfare recipients as well now. In order to continue to get those services, they're putting them to work. So now it turns into a feudalistic system where, again, power is abusing the poor. And, of course, they're robbing the rich to do it. But, either way, it's still the same thing. It's still the same thing. It just gets a little more complicated.
So it's almost like enslaving the rich and the poor at the same time.
Exactly what it is. And that's how they roll.
Okay, let's go on to Dave. Your thoughts on social welfare?
Well, the biggest problem with social welfare is it actually makes capable people not work. We always talk about Americans not wanting to go out and pick apples or work on a farm or sweep floors. I believe that the minimum wage is part of that problem. What we've done is we've said, okay, we will give you a living for existing. You have to earn nothing. You have to do nothing. You exist, and you're okay. I mean, a lot of these people have cell phones and refrigerators. Are they enslaved? To a degree, yes. But, again, it's a pretty comfortable slavery because you never have to truly work. I believe that if you make a man, woman, or child earn a living, give them nothing, you'd be surprised at how little welfare we actually need, and we get a lot more things done and have it done a lot better.
So if everybody would work, that would leave a lot more resources available for the people who truly do need it.
Exactly, and money would become, your dollar buys less than a head of lettuce nowadays. That would make money more valuable because it takes, something like every dollar that's given away takes $40 just to give a dollar away. That's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So, if you can't alleviate it immediately, but as you slowly wean people off of it and force them to go to work, we would have, you'd still have a bag boy at every single checkout, no matter what. You'd have somebody there taking care of your groceries. You'd have somebody take them out for you. You'd have somebody sweeping the floors, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And employers would be happy to do it. Instead, we have a group of people who, not to speak hateful towards anyone, but, they get something free from the government and they think it is something they've earned by being an American as opposed to trying to make America a better place because they're in America and because they can make themselves better, even with baby steps. Even if you just work, say, like for a car mechanic, I want room and board so you can teach me a skill. We used to call it an apprenticeship. Nowadays, it's unheard of.
Yeah, we talked apprenticeships in the last couple of podcasts. I think that's a great way for people to get ahead, too.
But
we've only got about 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
We only got about 10 minutes, so I think I do want to make a part 2 out of this. But I do want to get a couple more examples out of the way. Maybe we can find a little common ground, hopefully someday, between the left and the right on these next issues. But real quick, I want to put this out. For example, having children, and the topic of abortion comes up too. So I wonder if this same principle could be applied to that situation, whether you keep the child, even if you keep the child, okay, you made a decision to have that child. The child was born. Now you're obligated to take care of that child and raise that child properly through the rest of his life because it was your action to have that child. You're responsible for that child. And that includes keeping them from getting in trouble, making sure they have the food and the clothes and the education they need. That's your responsibility. But what about abortion, okay? So let's say the same thing. Okay, every human individual, I believe, no matter who their stage in life is, their age or their status, is entitled to right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, but not at the expense of the rights of others, unless that individual's caused their life to be dependent on them in some way. So, for example, if you're going out there and procreating and you're making the choice to do that and you get pregnant, I believe the child is entitled to the right to life because it was your choice to do that. Well, what about in the situation of rape? You didn't choose that. That was forced upon you. A lot of people on the right would say a child has a right no matter what, in every instance, even the health of the mother. They have a right no matter what. Some people on the left say no matter what, the woman should get to choose, no matter what, even if the even if her actions cause that child to be conceived, she should still choose that. I don't believe that either. I believe that's very wrong. I don't think abortion should be used as birth control. So I know this is a very divisive topic. I might get a lot of answers even with libertarians on this. So, Lisa, what's your thoughts on having children and abortion?
You know, Tom, every instance, or most of the instances you've brought up tonight, the solution is a perfect world. In a perfect world, yes, every woman who gets pregnant would be committed to that baby. The father would be committed to that baby to not only have it and give birth, but then to raise it and to fully parent that child. When we talked about the entitlement mentality, in a perfect world, we would be able to give from our hearts, give from our wallets to help people that were in need, and in return, those people would eventually, get back on their feet, and they would be in a position where they could provide assistance to people. And like all of those other instances, number one, they depend on a perfect world, and number two, there is no going back. So I am very adamantly pro-life. I am very, very much adamantly in the most fundamental right of all. If we do not have the right to just be alive, then what other rights even matter? Because they all are hinged on me just being alive. And so much has been said about abortion. I do not believe that the tide is ever going to turn back. Maybe in certain instances, some laws could be put into place, but we are where we are. And so then what I look at, and you said tonight we were going to talk about solutions, then what I'm looking at is, well, then what can we do to the woman, whatever age, really is in a crisis? She cannot raise that child, whether it's for, just some emotional reasons, or she is scared of the future for that baby. She doesn't have the money. Where can we step in? And people have done that, and there are organizations in place. But I think that saving lives of individual babies will be done on an individual basis. But I do believe, Tom, right to life, I am about as anti-abortion as a person could ever be.
Okay, good thoughts. Pappy, what do you believe?
Oh, boy, this is a touchy one here, isn't it?
I know. It's the single most divisive topic, political topic of them all by far. But I think if society can somehow come together on this, I think we could solve anything really. But I don't know if we can even solve this. But yeah, go ahead, give your thoughts.
Right. So I am 99.99999% pro-life all the way. I really can't see how anyone could make a decision to do anything otherwise. Some of the solutions, I believe, we have to make it easier to adopt. I mean, if anybody's ever looked into trying to adopt, the cost are astronomical, and the loopholes that you got to go through are crazy. Do we have to take some responsibility as parents on how do we raise our children? Did we teach them the right ways? Where did it go wrong to realize that abortion is, and my biggest issue is when it's abortion for birth control. You find you made a mistake once, but then you go back twice, 3 or 4 times, then we're really looking at some serious issues there. And
what do you think if in a situation if the woman's raped and it wasn't a choice of her own?
Well, again, that's when I think we need to make the adoption side so much easier to, okay, let's bring it to term and we can find a good family for the child. And maybe even a foster parent form easier to go down the line and may change their mind later on. The biggest thing I come down to with the abortion, and just real quick, is if I murder a woman and she's pregnant, it's 2 charges against me, but yet we can just abort for no real valid reason of life or something. That's where I really have problems with it, and I'll leave it there.
Got just a few minutes, guys. Quansay, 1 minute. What's your thoughts? Quansay, are you there?
I put it on mute again and forgot to take it off, but here we go. I'm outside in the wind. Being a researcher of many things. Understanding the origins of abortion and how it was created with the sole purpose of being a genocidal tool for people of color. One of the things that really stands out is that on this particular topic is my stance is completely pro-life, because all life is precious. And in the rape scenario, what a better way for a parent to show how much she loves that child, or to teach what love is, by raising that child to the fullest with a full understanding of how you were conceived, and still instill the values, the principles of voluntarism and the right to life, and how everything is precious, including you, even though you came from a situation that I didn't ask for. What better lesson in the world? Yeah, I was just going to say,
what Pappy.
Yeah.
I mean, Quansay. Yeah, I want to go to Dave real quick. We got 1 minute left, Dave.
All right.
Okay, well, I hate to be the one that's different. I consider myself somewhat pro-life, but I also believe that at a certain point in time, once a child is conceived, there's no guarantee of birth. So at a certain point in time, when a doctor says, sorry, that's coming to term no matter what you do, then it's a person. Then we have a better guarantee that there is life. I mean, the day after pill isn't really an abortion pill. It's a retroactive birth control. But, again, I don't believe at a certain point in time you have a child in you, and it is alive and it has rights.
Okay. All great opinions, everyone. I think we're about the end of the show. Yes, producers telling we're just about the end. I think we're going to make a part 2 out of this real quick. Is any of you that have anything you want to add real quick before we cut the show out?
Well, if I got the opportunity, I would say to everyone, just continue to do what you do and be the light, be that change that we want to see in society, because even though it is utopian, we're going to be pushed into it. And we're going to be the leaders of the next society. So we're going to have to sharpen our skills in being those leaders.
Great input. Last word you want to add, Lisa?
Oh, I think it's a good conversation, Tom. I mean, these are all really thought-provoking questions. And I think just, I think the very fact that your listeners and yourself, a lot of us are preppers, really indicates just how much we value not just life. I mean, we're working on, preserving our, but also self-reliance, and that just that independent nature inside each one of us. That is like the backbone of the whole prepper movement.
All right, everyone. Producers telling me show's over. I want to remind everyone, hey, thank you guys for coming on. I want to remind everyone, tune in every week, every day. There's lots of great shows. Goodbye, everyone.
The Republic of Bankland, United States of Bankland.